It's another delicious day here in the Let's Make Food from Food Kitchen, and time for another kitchen adventure. This time we're going into the world of bread again, and I'm going to make some rye bread. It's just a light rye bread with some caraway seeds. Caraway seeds are optional. You might notice that my shirt says professional here, but I'm not going to tell you what it says below the apron. It says professional something. If you can guess, maybe I'll send you a t-shirt. Anyone? No? Okay, sorry. Time's up. So what I have here is 3 cups of bread flour and 1 cup of rye flour. The first thing I want to do is take my rye flour and mix it in with my bread flour and my yeast. Now, why don't I do the salt and everything? I want to get this in first. You could just dump it all in, but I like to make sure that I've got everything ready to go. So this gets mixed in together really well. And if you're not sure if you're getting it all together, what you could do is use a spatula to just kind of turn from the bottom of the bowl. And if it all looks white on the bottom, you're not getting it all. So once you've got that mixed in, you can do your salt. It seems like a lot of salt, but it is for 4 cups of flour. And then caraway seeds. And the caraway seeds, you can leave them out. You can add more. You can have less. I like them. Not everybody does. My husband doesn't like them. So when I make sauerkraut, I don't put in the caraway seeds. But for this batch of bread, I'm going to. And here's why. I am making a Reuben. And you probably already know that if you watched the last couple of videos, because the last couple of videos were prep to make the Reuben. So we made our Thousand Island dressing. Then we made our sauerkraut. Now the bread. And we made our corned beef brisket and saved some for this particular recipe. So everything just falls together all nice and beautifully. Okay, that is done. Now I have 1 1/4 cup of water, and we're going to combine this until it's completely mixed together. And it will be sticky, and that's what we want. We want it to be sticky. So don't be tempted to add any more flour, because when we start pulling it together, it'll have a little flour added when we dust our surface. So please don't be tempted to add that flour. Don't do it. Okay, so while we do this, let's talk about next steps. And that will be to cover this and let it rise 12 to 18 hours. So it's going to rise for a long time. This is something you should definitely make the day before in terms of the dough, because if you make the dough the night before, you can let it rise overnight and then make it the next day. This particular method, I use a Dutch oven for. This is a Dutch oven, it's cast iron, and that really retains the heat. It's a method I really like to do. So I am to the point where I'm not even going to use my spatula anymore. I'm just going to let my hands get sticky with dough. So we want to mix this all together and make sure there's nothing dry left behind. Once there's nothing dry left behind, we are ready to cover this and let it rest. Okay, this is a nice cohesive ball of dough. I am going to wash my hands, cover it in plastic. Then I'm going to let it rise in a draft-free, warm area, okay? So tomorrow, this should be at least double in size. I'll be wearing a different t-shirt, and maybe we'll have figured out what it says by then. Talk to you soon. Here we are the next morning. Look at how much my bread has risen. It has more than doubled in size. It's nice and bubbly, which is perfect. I am mostly caffeinated. Still working on that part. Yum. Okay, so there's a couple things that we need to do. It's not that complicated. We just need to get this out of the bowl, shape it into a ball, and then let it rest for another hour or 2 before we bake it and preheat our Dutch oven. So give me just a sec. I'm going to grab a spatula because I forgot to get that because I'm not fully caffeinated. Okay, have my spatula. So I need to set this aside. And I need to generously dust my flour. Remember, this is a wet dough, so it's going to be very sticky. I want to use a lot of flour. And the other thing I have set out, and you don't need anything as fancy as this, I have this because I've done sourdough. and still do sourdough. This is my proving basket. Okay, it's just a round bowl. You can use a bowl, just a kitchen bowl, and a tea towel. With my sticky dough, I prefer to use parchment paper in between because it doesn't seem to matter how much flour I use until I go overboard. It's gonna stick some to my cloth and I just don't want to mess with that. So I am gonna use a layer of parchment paper, but still my cloth, my tea towel, so that I can cover it with my tea towel. So this is just gonna help me along the way. It is optional on how you wanna go about that. So dust your hands. Okay, and what we want to do is take our bowl. We're going to try and get this out in one piece without ripping it. Okay, and we're just going to work it out of the bowl. Okay, now that I've got this out of my bowl, what I want to do is just gently shape it into a ball and keep your hands floured. And I'm not kneading it. You don't need to knead it. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of roll it around. You see how I have a nice ball going here? Okay. And then you're going to put this seam side up in your bowl so that when you transfer it into your pot, it flips over and it is seam side down. Okay, I'm just trying to close up my seams a little bit here. So let me show you what we have. That's what it looks like right now. Now I'm going to cover it up with my tea towel, and I'm going to let this rise for 1 to 2 hours. At about an hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to turn my oven on to 475 degrees. I am going to put my Dutch oven into the oven to get it nice and hot. That is so important for this process. It's just like with sourdough. You want your Dutch oven to be hot. When you put it in, you put the lid on to trap the steam that's going to come out, and it gives you a nice crust. So that's how we're doing this particular loaf. There's other methods to do it. Maybe I'll do that another time. So don't forget, 475 at an hour and 15 minutes. Put in your Dutch oven and then let that heat up for, 40 minutes before you take it out to put this in. But be very careful when you take it out. It's going to be hot. All right, I'll see you in about 2 hours. All right, so my oven's preheating. My Dutch oven is inside. This is my bread. I did go the 2 full hours, so it's pretty close to doubled in size. And what we're going to do is we're going to take out the cast iron Dutch oven and put it here. Then I am going to grab another parchment paper and then flip this upside down into the pot. So let me grab those things and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm taking the lid off and I'm just going to set it on top of this pot for now. Keep in mind that's going to be really hot. So as you work with this, don't burn yourself. Be really careful. Okay, so I'm going to carefully put this right there, and this should, as I flip it, just push it down. So here we go. Ready? Perfect. Oh my gosh, you guys. Sometimes I fumble that a little bit. Not today. So I'm going to just show you really quick because you won't see that seam. Can you see this okay? Look at that. I don't want to tape it too long because it's starting to... Okay, so I need to get this back in the oven while it's still hot. So 30 minutes, and then take it out, let it cool and rest for 15 to 20 minutes on a rack before you slice it, but maybe wait a little longer if you can. This looks beautiful. It's cooled for about a half an hour. It still feels really warm. So I'm going to carefully go ahead and just slice into it. Ideally, I'd let it cool a little bit more, but I have to get moving on, so let's just do it. Okay. There we go. Oh my gosh. Look at that. That's beautiful. Oh, it smells so good. I love rye bread. I do. It smells so good. Okay. So let's take... Should have got some fresh butter, huh? That'd have been nice to put on it. Let's It's that bottom crust that sat on the cast iron. Okay. Let's just take a little piece. Beautiful flavor, warm. All it needs is some butter. Yummy. I mean, it doesn't need butter, but I like it that way. Delicious. Okay. Coming up next is the Reuben. We've done so much prep work. If you've been doing it along with me, cool. If not, go take a look if you want to. If not, you can go buy the ingredients. Though I always prefer my own. Thanks for joining me here today in the Let's Make Food from Food kitchen for another kitchen adventure and some delicious bread. From my kitchen to yours, let's make food from food.
That's one boy puppy.